What's good, YouTube? It's Rico here, and I've got a deck profile once again for Danger Thunder Dragon. A bit of an update from the one I did 2-3 weeks ago or something like that. Um, yeah, I took this one to a Savage Strike case, special edition case tournament today. It was like 34 people or something. It was in Frederick, Maryland. And I got second place after 6 rounds. Top 8 decided to split just because we were all pretty done for the day after that. But yeah, finished second after Swiss 6 rounds. I ended X1. There were no undefeateds. I played the last undefeated in the last round and I won. So yeah, but he had better tiebreakers than I did. And yeah, the deck is still working really well. It's been working amazingly for me the whole format. I tried a couple of different things. So like a lot of this is pretty similar to like the standard Danger Thunder. But I tried out a couple of different things from the previous build, so I thought I'd update. And I'm getting this ready for YCS Atlanta, which is the next weekend. But yeah, quick rundown of my matchups. Round 1, I played someone from my locals. He was playing Paleozoic. Game 1 was a little shaky just because he had, like, it was hard for me to set up a board, but I maintained enough presence to just kill him. And then game 2, I Denko Sekka into, like, Twin Twister OTK'd him. Round 2, I played against Sky Striker Invoked. It was a player who I think is pretty well known. He goes by the name Froggy. And I lost the first game, but then I won the second game and the third game. Round 3 was against Pendulum Magician, which I won 2-0, but the guy who's a friend of mine messed up twice. Round 4 was Trickstar with the artifacts, and I very solidly won game 1. Game 2, I got hit by by Scythe 2 games in a row, and then lost from there. And then game 3, I lost in time, which was wonderful. That was my only loss for the day. Round 5 was a friend of mine from college. He was playing True Draco. I completely destroyed him game 1. He didn't have a hand trap, so I got the full Guard Dragon combo. Game 2, he hit me with Inspector Board, and I couldn't out it. And then game 3, I did the exact same thing game 1. So yeah, and then last round was the guy who was undefeated. He was playing Cyber Dragon, actually, and I guess a lot of people weren't familiar with the matchup, or they were like playing it incorrectly. But Cyber Dragon, I cannot fathom Cyber Dragon beating this deck, because like their biggest play is like getting Mega Fleet to like rid me of an extra monster zone, but then I put like 3 or 4 things in the main monster zone that they have to also deal with, and it's just like I can't envision them winning that without hand traps. But yeah, after that, I finished second in Swiss behind the guy who was playing Cyber Dragon, because his only loss was me, and my only loss was to the Trickstar player who got like 12th. But yeah, so yeah, let's get into it. All right. So for the main, most of the monster line is pretty much the exact same. I made like 1 change. 3 solar. I've seen some people cut this to 2. I think this is way too good if you're going first. Like, there's so many crazy things you can get off of this card. Like, it's not as good as Phantom Sky Blaster, but I still think Solar is really good. I don't think I would cut it to 3. You want to open one of these to get your plays going, basically. I was testing a little bit with, instead of playing Phantom Sky Blaster, playing Neo Space Connector just to play around Droll and just like other hand traps. And I thought it was good, but it drains your hand so much that I just don't think it's worth actually doing. Like yeah, I would rip cards on my opponent's hand, but then I would also like drain my own hand so much that my ending boards would be weaker, and I would just rather set up the unstoppable board and just like get the crazy draw power you get off of Phantom Sky Blaster and Saryuja. Like, I just think this is way better, and just accept the fact that I'll probably sometimes I'll just lose to Droll, and like it doesn't even do anything to Lancia, which I think is the better card right now. Like there's just gonna be games you lose to things that just like don't let you play, and that's just kind of like a thing you have to accept when you play this deck. I don't think there's really a concrete way to deal with that, which I guess is a bit of a fair trade-off, because this deck unopposed has like by far the highest ceiling in the format, I think. But yeah, those are the starters. They're all really good. Ban Phantom Sky Blaster. Card is absurd. 3 Levianeer. This is basically the reason I play this deck. This card is so crazy good. I would never play less than 3 of this. This card's amazing. In fact, there were times where like I had multiples in my hand, and because of that, it was safe for me to activate a danger. I don't know why my webcam is doing this stupid focus thing. Yeah. Also, I switched back to my webcam because obviously my phone camera was really, really poor in the last video, and I apologize for that. Anyway, like, Levianeer, there are times where I had multiple Zithas in my hand, and that was fine because I could safely activate a danger where it's like if I discard the Levianeer, okay, I have a second one. And that was great because there were a lot of times where I would want to like tribute a monster besides Diablos for Diablos' effect, so I could use him for the rank 8 play. And that actually came up a good number of times, so I'm really glad that like it's never bad to have multiple Zithas cards. Even if one sits in your hand, it's just such an incredible card on like any turn of the game. This is this is like the biggest reason this deck is so crazy good. Diablos and Wyvern, straightforward, you know, for the Guard Dragon combos. Drawing them kind of sucks, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I don't think there's any true Garnets in this deck. And then for the dangers, you got the standard 3 Nessie, 3 Jackalope, 3 Tsuchinoko, 2 Mothman. I cut down from 3 just for space. Actually, I think I might have been playing 2 in the last one. I jump between 2 and 3 of this card. This card's good, but like it's not as good as these ones. Like if you miss with these ones, you usually get like some strong impact out of these. Mothman's a little sketchy because you don't like really. It's a bit of a neg to miss with it because it gets Dark World dealings, and then it also could potentially benefit your opponent, but like I do think it's still really good, and I would probably still play at least 2 of it, maybe 3 moving forward. But unfortunately, I had the most rotten luck with Mothman today, where like almost every time I activated it, my opponent hit it, which is like awful, but I still won usually. And in my last version, I played Chupacabra. I decided to play Bigfoot instead. Bigfoot I've seen is getting really popular just because it's a searchable out to like floodgates or any like face-up thing that could be giving you grief. And I think this is like, I think that's just really useful. Like Chupacabra is nice, but it requires some crazy setup, and like Bigfoot just being like an in engine out to things, I think gives it a lot of benefit. It being level 8 and 3000 attack is always really useful, but like he didn't really come up at all today. I still think I would play him just because it's like just having that catch for like, oh, I can't deal with this thing, let me just summon Bigfoot. I think that's really good. So yeah, I think this is like the bare minimum dangers you should play. Like you could, if you wanted to up more, you could probably play like 1 Chupacabra, add another Mothman, and like you could probably do more than that, but I think this is a very solid lineup, and I don't really have any complaints with it. It's a very good lineup. The Bigfoot would usually get sided out if I was going first, because like it's not as useful going first, obviously, and then I would just replace it with a Phantasme because you can do stuff with that. It's great. So for the Thunder Dragons, 3 Dark, this card's in-hand effect continues to be amazing for me. I use this at the end of my opponent's turn when I went second just to get a Thunder in his graveyard to make plays. I use this to play through Azathoth. Well, not today, but I've used it for that a lot. I've used this to play through Droll. I would not ever cut this to less than 3, even though I considered it. Like, I think people very, very heavily underestimate just how powerful this card's in-hand effect is. Like, you don't want to be in a situation where you have to use the in-hand effect, but when it's there, you're so fucking glad it is. Like, that's how I view it. 2 Roar, 2 Hawk, and Duo. This is a pretty standard lineup. I'm still not big on regular Thunder Dragon. I just don't think it really adds anything to the deck. Aside from making your danger odds slightly better, but they're already pretty good anyway. And then the last monsters in the deck are the Baby Chaos Dragons. These cards are broken. Just so much you can do with these cards. It's actually insane. And that's all the monsters. I think it's 36. Because, surprise, spell lineup. I am not playing Sekka's Light. I decided to play 3 Allure, 2 Melody of Awakening Dragon, and Gold Sarcophagus. So I've been playing Sekka's Light in this basically for the entire format. I know this is not a new concept. This has been around for as long as the Sekka's Light version, and like I was always kind of like curious about this, but like was like I'm not sure if it would be better than Sekka's Light, because Sekka's Light is a straight up Pot of Greed that can also like cycle your hand if you have like something you don't want in there. But I think it was at the UDS, Nashad Lorengo topped using this, and his reasoning was that it helps fix the the fact that the Thunders are not very good to draw. Melody is just good for grabbing Chaos, like Levianeer and like Diablos and stuff. And Goldstark's just a broken card in this deck. Like really, Goldstark's just insane whenever you see it. And like I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I felt like the logic might not have like I didn't know if I agreed with it. I was like, I understand, but you kind of like deal with the Thunders being bad to draw by running less of them. And like Sekka's Light's Pot is Greed, and like that was really good. But I decided to try it out and see how it was, and I was wrong. This is a pretty good thing. Like I don't know if it's necessarily better than Sekka's Light. I think they're both really good, but I think the biggest thing I like about this is that for one, Allure is not once per turn. So if I draw into multiple Allure, that's actually insane because I'm just cycling through my deck really quickly. The like banishing Thunders off of this was actually mad useful because sometimes like you just don't want to risk the possibility of like just not getting them into the graveyard with the dangers because of like just the luck of that. Those are the two biggest things about the Melody was really cool. I usually sided this out if I went second because like it's bad to like run it into the disruption, but being able to grab Levianeer, and even like there are situations where I grabbed Diablos if I felt like my opponent might have a way to stop me from grabbing it from the deck. I was just having it in my hand. This was really good, and it's also good for just getting stuff into the graveyard. I think that's the biggest thing about these, is that these made the Thunder part of the deck way more alive, and I always felt like the Thunders were the weakest part of the deck because they were all like really bricks, aside from like the fringe uses where Dark is useful. And then I don't know, Goldstark's just broken. Every time I drew Goldstark, it was insane. But yeah, I'm not sure whether I prefer this or Sekka's Light, but this definitely made a good showing today. I did like this engine, and it actually made siding a lot easier because in the Sekka's Light version, I felt like I couldn't reliably side out more than like 3 to 6 cards, and 3 of those cards would have to be solar for Denko Sekka. But with this, I could reliably side out, I felt like 6 to 9 cards and still be in a really good spot, and I think that's a major benefit for this for sure. But Sekka's Light's just such an absurdly powerful card that like there's still merit to that, so like I'll keep playing around with it, but this definitely did way better than I thought it would be. And that's the entire main deck. It's 42 cards, basically from the last version. Aside from switching out Chupacabra for Bigfoot, it's basically I just took out the Sekka's Light for Allures. I took out one of them. I think there was an extra Mothman. I took that out for Goldstark, and then I took out and then I just added the 2 Melody for 42 over 40. And that's the main deck. So extra deck, this is basically not changed aside from one thing. So like it's all the same. It's like 3 Colossus. I've seen like Nishad drop this to 2, and I understand it's not too often that the 3rd Colossus comes up, but I feel like it comes up more often than a lot of the other things I would play. Like the other things I would consider in its place are I saw Nightmare Cerberus was used because it's like if you put it under a Sunlight Wolf against Salamangreat, you can play around the counter trap because they can't destroy the Cerberus because it's co-linked. So that I think is pretty good. I'm not sure if it's enough for me to consider playing Cerberus because I don't think Cerberus is that great of a card. And Salamangreat I've never really felt to be a difficult matchup unless I like Scythe you, but that's just like Scythe just beats this deck. And the 3rd Colossus did come up at least once today. The only other thing I would consider putting in its place is probably a 3rd Saryuja, just because sometimes when you have to Saryuja to start your plays, sometimes I would just prefer to have the Saryuja and then having a 3rd Saryuja to do the combo the same way. But you can do the combo with Borreload and get the same result. It's just like you're not able to draw as much, so it might take a little bit more, but you can do the same things. And I don't know, I haven't regretted having 3 Colossus. The 3rd one does come up from time to time, and there are matchups where just having this Colossus is good. If your opponent just survives multiple turns, just being able to tribute Colossus to bring back Diablos for more damage is really good. I don't know, I just really think Colossus is an amazing card. So the one change I did is that I swapped out Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss for Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. I definitely think this is really the better play for how the format is going. Like, Hot Red is really good against Sky Striker, and it's good against like random rogue shit like True Draco, and I guess like maybe Ultrageist. But Crystal Wing is so brutal against anything that is like reliant on monster effects or even like big monsters. Like this single-handedly won me games against the Invoke Draco. It won me games against Cyber Dragon because he couldn't run over it with the Hers, and when he tried, I just killed it. And I don't know, it's just insane. It's insane against Salamangreat because like all their crazy stuff comes from monster effects, and they lose advantage for trying to deal with this card, which Hot Red doesn't. Like Hot Red's really good, and I think if the format was still very focused on Sky Striker, I would probably still play that. But because the format shifted so much to like this and like Orcus, which is like Destrudo can out Hot Red, and just like all this monster heavy stuff. I think Crystal Wing is insane. I've tried to figure out if there's a way I could also fit Hot Red just for the matchups, but I don't think it's worth cutting anything in the extra deck like the Colossi. But yeah, Crystal Wing this card is insane. I'm so glad I switched. Like, this is crazy. Zombie Stein, this card's good. I negated a machine duplication with this, and it was awesome. I also made it to punch for 45 also one point. And then the rest of this is pretty much the same. Borreload, 2-star Yuja. This card should probably be limited. I don't think this card's broken at 1, but it's broken in multiple copies. Or at least very abusable. Summon Sorceress, Nightmare Unicorn, Nightmare Phoenix, Reaper Dog. So I'm starting to believe that this card needs to be banned, because like, I was having this discussion with my friend. Summon Sorceress is a really powerful card, and none of the OCGs already banned her. Mostly because of her interactions with like Needle Fiber and Firewall, but I feel like she brings a lot of like creative ideas to the game, and I don't think she's necessarily broken if she's not like super easy to make, and she's not a generic Link 3, but Riprodocus makes her a generic Link 3, and that's pretty much the only use this card has ever had. So I don't know, like maybe this is something to hit moving forward. I mean, obviously when we get Needle Fiber, she'll be broken again, but Needle Fiber is its own problem. But that's a discussion for another time. Yeah, and then Agar Pain and LP for Guard Dragons, and then Link Spider for Phantom Skyblaster. When I was trying to play Neo Space Connector instead of Phantom Skyblaster, this was Boral Sword, but when I put Phantom Skyblaster back in, obviously I needed this. It's the extra deck. Like I said, the only thing that changed was Crystal Wing over Hot Red, and that's been just amazing the whole time. And side deck, this has changed a little bit. This probably changed more than anything else in the deck, just because Sekka's Light, like removing Sekka's Light, let me have a bit more freedom. Not that I really use it that much, as you're about to see. 3 Phantasme. I finally got to play this for the first time today, and it was pretty good. There's just really no downside to this card, as long as your opponent plays Lynx. Like, it's just free hand sculpting, it's a free pot of greed, it's a free body. It's just good. Yeah. 3 Lancia. Like I said, earlier on, I think this is better than Droll, like just a little bit. Like Droll and Lancia both hit this deck about equally as hard, but Lancia is a lot stronger against stuff like Orcus, and like that zombie Orcus stuff is coming out. Lancia is really good against like shit like Invoked that I didn't even know was a thing, but I was like, I'm glad I had Lancia. Lancia can't get hit by Neo Space Connector if people are still trying that cute stuff. Like, I don't know, I just think Lancia as a whole is a lot better. Well, not a lot better. They're both like marginally the same, but like Droll's good against Pure Danger, which isn't seeing play, and then Lancia is good against Orcus, which is rising in play. So I think it just made sense for Lancia to be played instead of Droll. And I don't think that, even with the easier siding, I don't think it's necessarily right to like put too much dedication for the mirror. Like for the mirror, I would probably just put in these. Like if I really felt like I could comfortably side 9 cards in the mirror, then maybe I would find a way to fit Droll, but I don't know if it's necessary. And I think the other cards in the side deck are all pretty useful. So yeah. 3 Denko. Every time I play this card, I just grow more and more fond of it. Denko's a card that like in Pure Thunder, I actually really wasn't a big fan of, because like the more people knew about Droll, the more they played around it. But there are some things that like Denko just stops, and your opponent really can't play around it. Like Salamangreat can't really like stop this from like hitting Rage and Roar. Like the only thing they can really do is like preemptively Sanctum, and that's about all they can really do about this one. Against anything that's playing Azathoth, you can play this before they even have a chance to activate the rank up magic, because you have priority because it's only a main phase card. And I actually used that to my advantage against the Pendulum player, because he was playing the rank up magic, and he just set it, and I just summoned Denko and just killed him. Obviously this was really good against Paleozoic. It's pretty good against Striker. I feel like good Striker players aren't hurt as much by it, but it still can just be a brutal card, especially if the game state is simplified. And push come to shove, you can turn it into Colossus. So yeah, Denko is a card I've just become more and more fond of every time I use it, so I would definitely like continue playing this. And usually when I sided it out, or when I sided it in, Batteryman Solar came out. And yeah. And then 3 Pancratops. In the last video, I was saying how I wasn't sure if I wanted 3 of this. I'm still not entirely sure, but I think it's just such a good catch-all to deal with things that I would just run it just for that. Like, against the Draco player when I couldn't out Inspector Border. The reason I couldn't is I drew Pankratops and I special summoned it, but I couldn't do anything before he True Draco Apocalypse to get rid of it. Like if he hadn't had that, I had Denko in my hand, so I could have summoned Pankratops, summoned the Denko, and just swung. But he was smart and preemptively did that to avoid Denko. But this is just such a catch-all to a lot of things. This thing actually interacts really well with Phantom Skyblaster because you just special summon it and summon Skyblaster, and there's 4 monsters on your field. I don't know. I could maybe see myself cutting to 2, but I don't know. This was good. This is something I'm just in between on. Like Pankratops could be 2 or 3, but the card's just so insanely good and so insanely versatile. Like it goes in damn near every matchup. Like the only one I would consider not putting in is like Sky Striker. And the last card I cited was Twin Twisters because I wasn't held down by Sekka's Light because I didn't think it was right to side out Sekka's Light just because draw 2 is such a powerful thing. But without that, I was able to play Twin Twisters, and I put this in just for Striker, but it helped against the Paleozog player, and it would have helped against True Draco if I saw it. I sided it in against Pendulum because if I knew he had the rank up magic, then I could activate Twin Twisters in draw phase and hit it, but I didn't draw it, so it didn't matter. But I definitely think this was really good. I considered Red Reboot just for stopping Sanctum, but I feel like a lot of the times if the Salamangreat player has Sanctum, they're gonna also have Roar, and that's just not gonna get me anywhere. So I feel like Red Reboot is just like not really that great because of that. Like if they Trap Trick to set the Sanctum, then sure, but that's like it's good if they have Trap Trick, and then it's bad if they have Sanctum. So I just didn't want to deal with that. So yeah. And that's the entire deck. 42 cards in the main, 15 side and extra. Really satisfied with it. I've been doing really well with this format. That probably has to do with just how insanely high this deck ceiling is for sure. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to Atlanta. I'll probably make a few more changes and then make another deck profile after next weekend and see how everything goes. But yeah. Really satisfied with the day, really satisfied with the deck. I will continue playing with it. There's some other things I might mess around with. Like, I kind of want to mess around with that Zombie Orcus deck, and so I'll probably play that at Locals tomorrow, but this is probably what I'm going to stick with for Atlanta. It's just, the biggest thing I was afraid of was Droll Scythe and Lancia, because those cards all shut this down, but, like, if I don't run into those, I just really just don't lose. That's just how it is, and I think that's just the best part about this deck. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.